Hello again, Chris Lee and Chase Robinson here with our last bowl prediction. TaxSlayer Gator Bowl, that's Duke and Ole Miss. You can catch that Thursday, January the 2nd, 6:30 Central on ESPN. BetOnline favors Ole Miss by about 17.5 points with an over-under of about 51.5. That makes for an implied final score of Ole Miss 35, Duke 17. My computer model has Ole Miss by about 18. How much is that worth? I'm not sure. We have some opt-outs in this game. Actually, for Ole Miss, the Rebels came up faring pretty well on the opt-out side. Chris Paul, starting linebackers, out. For Duke, a couple of guys, but boy, they're big guys. Starting quarterback Malik Murphy, running back Star Thomas, maybe two of their bigger stars on offense for sure. Both gone, making what I think was already a, matchup that certainly favored Ole Miss tilt even more in that direction, Chase.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. I mean, you look at the records, both teams, Duke and Ole Miss, both 9-3. I feel like these are much different 9-3 records, though, based off what Ole Miss did and the teams that they beat and the way they beat them compared to the teams Duke beat. And, yeah, I feel like Ole Miss, yes, while the college football playoff is where the Rebels wanted to be, they had their eyes set on that college football playoff. They didn't get there. But I feel like the players are still bought in enough to Lane Kiffin and the program that they want to finish out playing. I think all the guys who are able to, now there are some injuries and guys who probably won't play much because of injury, but I feel like everybody's pretty bought in and wants to play in this game and wants to prove Ole Miss football to be good and relevant. And so I think that's great. I think it's great for the sport, for this team. Then there's some guys in the transfer portal for Ole Miss, not many, but a few. And then you mentioned Chris Paul opting out, but other than that, we're going to see a Ole Miss team who's at pretty good strength.
Yeah, hats off to the Ole Miss collective for writing pretty strong contracts, I would guess, given the opt-outs for the Rebels versus some of the other ones in some of the other bowls we've seen. All right, let's break down offense and defense. Let's start with Ole Miss's offense versus Duke's defense. Here are the numbers. Points per game, 37.5 to 22.8. Rushing plays, Ole Miss averaged 5.2 to 4.5, which is what Duke gave up. That said, Ole Miss didn't rush the ball very well later in the season. Felt like a lot of that was Henry Parrish against the garbage portion of the schedule. Passing plays, Ole Miss elite, 9.4 per play. Duke gave up 5.0, which is also elite. Sack percentage, Ole Miss got sacked 6.1% of the time. Duke got sacks 8.6%. And turnover rate, Ole Miss turned it over on just 1.4% of snaps. Duke turned it over, or forced turnovers 3.0% of snaps. Duke's defense here was really good per play and elite at forcing turnovers, but Ole Miss didn't really turn it over that much. I think the key, like if Duke's going to pull an upset, I think maybe the rushing attack is where you start looking, but Ole Miss hangs on to the ball, and I think when we get to the other side, spoiler alert, I think Ole Miss is pretty good there too against the Duke offense is just okay. I think if this is the key side to watch, if Duke is going to pull an upset or make it closer than the spread indicates, it's got to probably start with that rushing defense and forcing turnovers, but I'm just not sure Ole Miss is going to give Duke what it needs here with Jaxson Dart, his veteran presence, the way he takes care of the ball.
Yeah, they do hang on to the football well. Jaxson Dart, 3,875 yards, 25 touchdowns, and only 6 interceptions. Those are great numbers for Jaxson Dart. Yeah, I mean, look, Duke defensively, they've given up a lot of points in some games, especially to a team like Miami. But also they've held some good offenses like SMU to 27 points recently, and so their defense is good. They've got to make key stops though, and I feel like Ole Miss, who has been able to get some big plays at times this season, if Duke limits those big plays, I think that'll definitely slow Ole Miss down. So Duke's defense is going to have to carry the weight of this game. We'll get to their offense in a minute. It's a mess. But I feel like Ole Miss can score points and plenty of them if they want to with the talent on the field. And again, the lack of guys opting out offensively, Duke's defense is going to have to find a way to slow them down, get the ball out of their hands, but also limit the big plays. But I like Ole Miss chances at a few big plays in this one, Chris.
Before we flip sides of the matchup, a reminder we're brought to you by BetOnline, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, and college basketball, NHL to UFC, head to BetOnline today. Don't forget to use the promo code BELIEVE for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline. The game starts here. Well, if you're betting and you're looking at defense, Ole Miss has certainly got the better unit. It was elite all year, elite up front. Lane Kiffin did a great job of assembling talent in the portal in the offseason and has kept most of it through the bowl game with the exception of Chris Paul. Here are the numbers. Ole Miss's defense versus Duke's offense in that order. Points 13.9 to 26.8. Rushing plays 3.5 yards to 3.6. Passing plays 5.3 to 6.6. Sack percentage, Ole Miss sacked the quarterback 11% of the time. Now, Duke only gave up 2.7% of sacks, which is elite. Turnover percentage, Ole Miss turned it over 2.6% of the time. Duke committed turnovers 2.3% of the time. Boy, Duke's inability to run the ball combined with so much of what Ole Miss does well here, I think has got to be concerning for Duke in terms of if it's going to pull an upset, there's a lot that's got to go right that doesn't look favorable on paper.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Duke, Malik Murphy, their quarterback is gone. He threw for almost 3,000 yards this season. Star Thomas, who scored 7 touchdowns, is out. I mean, what they did well, and the guys who made it happen for Duke are not there. And so this is going to be really an opportunity for Duke to get some guys and figure out maybe the future of Duke football in this game. Henry Bellin the fifth will start or the fourth will start, and we'll see what he can do at quarterback. But yeah, Ole Miss defensively, they've been good. Teams have not been able to play like they normally do against Ole Miss. They really have to be creative offensively to get through this Ole Miss defense. Now, they've given up points, yes, but I really like the consistency of Ole Miss defensively. And again, teams have had to dial up different things in order to be successful on them. When we talk about Lane Kiffin, and we've talked about it this season, you think offense, but like you mentioned, what he did in the portal, the guys he brought in on the defensive side of the ball, I really like that. He needs to keep that up. If he can put together really good defense, because he's going to get good offensive players, people want to come play for him. If he can keep getting guys like he did this year out of the portal on defense, I think Ole Miss has a really good future ahead of them. But I really like what the defense has done this year for Ole Miss.
Picks and why, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think it's a big win for Ole Miss. I just see Duke, again, breaking in some new guys at some key positions offensively. I don't know if they're going to be able to score many points on this Ole Miss team. And again, if Ole Miss can get some big plays, can get the run game going as well, I think they're going to have a good day.
Yeah, I'm with you here. I just don't see much of a path for Duke with the two big guns on offense hitting the portal. I guess the fact that they've got a defense that's been pretty good, and Ole Miss wasn't always super consistent on offense, especially when the running attack. That's your path. I just don't see it as a big enough path. Give me Ole Miss, the fact that they got so many guys playing in this bowl game. If you're going to show up, you might as well play hard. So I'm gonna guess that's what we see from the Rebels, and I think Ole Miss wins big. We'll be here to talk about games afterwards, especially the playoff games. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and enable your notifications so you know when we do. Also, a lot of basketball content right now, and plenty of baseball content around the corner here in about a month and a half. For Chase Robinson, I'm Chris Lee. You've been watching Southeastern 16, presented by BetOnline.